Hey everybody, are you ready to heal for real and finally overcome some of the emotional barriers that are keeping you from becoming your best self? Then I want you to stay tuned to today's video because we are going to be talking about emotional ignorance, how we feel like it has plagued the church, and how you can learn how to be more emotionally literate and become who you want to become. Hey everybody, I'm Jessica Cooper. I'm a clinical therapist and Jesus lover, and I'm here today with my wonderful husband,
Winston Cooper, your success coach, helping you hit your success mark in life.
And we're going to be talking about how to heal for real by overcoming this emotional ignorance.
Yes.
And so when we think about emotional ignorance, I felt this burden to start a war on emotional ignorance because I feel like it's something that has plagued believers. It's plagued the church.
Wow.
And I believe that it's one of the key factors that is keeping believers from having healthy interpersonal relationships with one another. And so my definition of emotional ignorance is when we do not understand our triggers.
That's right.
We don't understand the things that trigger us, that cause us to react the way that we do. And when we don't understand why we're reacting the way that we are, we tend to make excuses. We tend to make up explanations and justifications, usually about other people.
Wow.
And how, because of how they are, I'm acting the way that I am. And so I want to talk about this emotional ignorance and how, as believers, especially in the body of Christ, especially in the church, how we can learn how to become more aware of our own emotions so that our relationships with one another are not so hindered and affected. What are your thoughts on this term, emotional ignorance?
And that's a great word, and I like how you presented that, emotional ignorance. When a person does not know what their emotions is conveying to them, they can misinterpret a reality that they're in. And all reality is created by a language that you are having with yourself, or a conversation that you're having with yourself. Now, if you lack emotional intelligence, then you will not know how to discern or decipher what you're going through or experience properly.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that we shift from emotional intelligence to emotional awareness.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Emotional ignorance to emotional awareness.
Yes.
You know, that's so good because, as you said, it's when we don't understand what our emotions are communicating to us.
That's right.
Right? It's not what the outside world always is what we assume is communicating to me, but what my own emotions are communicating to me. And so I want to talk specifically, one of the ways that I see this show up in the church is when we do not have when we do have emotional ignorance, one of the things we tend to do is hyper-spiritualize our own responses or behaviors.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say that I don't like the way that someone is showing up today in church. Maybe I feel like they're more standoffish. Maybe I feel like they are judging me. Maybe I feel like they are just acting differently from how they normally act. And so one of the things we see in the church, and as pastors we see this oftentimes, is that someone will say, well, I feel like that so-and-so has a demon on them, right? Or maybe they'll say, I feel like so-and-so has this spirit, or they're dealing with this, right? And so we begin to create our own interpretation about where a person is rather than actually understanding how it is that I feel that they are acting towards me. So have you seen this happen in the church? How do you feel like this hyper spiritualizing our own actions, our own interpretations shows up?
Oh yes, it happens often. And the reason why it happens is because no one has trained believers how to manage their emotions, how to manage the experience that they are in. And so if they don't know how to manage the experience they're in or manage their emotions, then of course they was moving to a superstition that they was indoctrinated with from childhood experience or from what they know from the level of their comprehension.
Wow.
And so training is necessary, training people how to be emotionally intelligent, how to move from emotional ignorance to emotional intelligence is very vital. And we don't see it. We don't see the education of understanding your emotion. So when we don't understand our emotion, our subjective interpretation will distort experiences, will distort how we label people, how we define people.
Wow.
And so that can be very dangerous, a lack of education or ignorance.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, two things you said that I really want to talk about. You said superstition, and you talked about how we label people.
Yeah.
And I believe that in the church world, we are some of the best at labeling other people. We take on these interpretations. Again, we make it really spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm discerning this. Maybe I'm prophetically, I can sense that you're dealing with X, Y, and Z.
Right.
We make it very spiritual, right?
Very spiritual.
But the question is, how much of this is actually based on what I am feeling, as you said, subjectively? How much of what we're discerning, or we say that we are prophetically sensing, is really based on my own inner wounding, my own insecurity, my own emotion, right?
Yes.
And so out of that, we start to label people.
That's right.
Right? We start to say that you're dealing with this, or I can tell that you're in that spirit, or like you said, we jump to superstition. They're dealing with a demon.
Easily offended.
Right, we become easily offended, all because we are dealing with something and we don't know how to interpret. We don't know how to understand that this person makes me feel this way. And what are some things that you feel that are triggered for people, right? What is it that is causing a person to be triggered by someone else, which causes them to start to mislabel another person?
You know, it can be a lot of things, and we can go deep into this from a therapeutic level or counseling level, because people sometimes deal with transferences, and they deal also with projections. They like to project.
Now you might have to break both of those words down: transference and projections.
Yes, their projections and their transferences are things that, for example, if A offended them when they was a child, A can be their father. A can be similar to their mother. It can be something that represents their mother. And if they hear, if they encounter B and B sounds like A, they're going to recall how their mother treated them, or how their father treated them, or how somebody treated them in their past. That reminds them of A. So the B is not really being heard as the B, it's been heard as the A. So that transference can distort emotionally how that recipient is feeling.
Wow.
Or if they went through some type of traumatic experience and they enter an experience that is similar to what they experienced in their past, then it'll cause them to have projections, or their interpretation will affect how they're feeling to create a projection that's not really the true reality. So transferences and projections can really hinder how people feel emotionally, or distort what they're really feeling from understanding how the truth is showing them, it's expressing what it's the reality of what it should be.
Oh my goodness. You know, it's so interesting. I see this so many times with, let's just say, women in the church. Let's say they did not have a good relationship with their mom. Maybe their mom was harsh. Maybe their mom was judgmental, right? And so then they try to form a relationship with another woman in the church, right, who does something to make them feel the same way their mom made them feel. Maybe it makes them feel small, makes them feel judged, makes them feel insignificant or insecure, right? And so instead of realizing, as you said, that I'm transferring what this person, what my mother made me feel, onto this other person in the church, rather than realizing that they're not actually doing the same thing that my mom did. This is not my mom, right? They begin to assume that this person is making them feel the same way their mom made them feel, that this person is just like their mom was, for example. And so this transference is so serious. And I believe that it's one of the things that keeps people from forming healthy interpersonal relationships, because I'm assuming that everyone treats me this way. Everyone thinks that I'm stupid. Everyone thinks that I'm worthless. Everyone, you know, belittles me, when that's not the case. It's that I'm being triggered inside. There's this wound there that's being triggered, and now I am transferring and projecting those same qualities onto the next person. You know, just sometimes people when they are arrested by their transference, they don't understand that they're not freeing their emotions to experience something new. They're not freeing their emotions to experience a new possibility. That word transference, when you look at it from its etymological root word, it literally means to carry something. The word ferry comes from the word ferry. So ferry means to carry your emotions from your past and bring it into your present. To take something that has offended you or wounded you in your past, and you're bringing it into your present relationships. So therefore, you're not freeing your emotions to experience a new possibility, because you have just arrested them from a past experience. You have just held them hostage. So transferences can hinder
people from being clear with themselves emotionally.
Wow.
And liberate them to have great relationships, healthy boundaries, like you suggested.